Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Hey everybody, good to have you back tonight.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of
It's 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. It is September 11th, 2025, and we're about to get kicked off with the last broadcast of the week. And yeah, we'll be back to maybe semi-normal order next week. Tuesday night was like the first crack at normalcy, and then of course here we are on another trajectory. So I don't think I'm going to try to resist the current at all, and I'm just going to continue to keep the lines open tonight. Talk a little bit about what's new today on yesterday's events, and of course that there is just the case that it's September 11th today. It's 24. This is the first day. This is the first time in 24 years that I have not spent any significant time reflecting on that day 24 years ago, much at all. It's just crazy. I mean, every once in a while you see the date and you realize, oh man, you just keep getting reminded. It's September 11th, but it feels like September 12th. It feels like September 12th, 2001. And I don't know. There's a lot of people are sharing the same thing, same feelings about Charlie Kirk, even if they never really paid attention to his work, or if it wasn't something, he wasn't a person that they went to for analysis or whatever. It's just, you know the names that are out there, and you gravitate to some and not to others for various reasons. But this has been, I don't know. It's just been different. Last year in July, Donald Trump almost bought it, and we were spared having to walk that path. And maybe it would have felt the same. Maybe it would have been worse. I don't know, but I think the fact of Charlie's age at 31 years old, that's more of an act of killing a child in the cradle. And because it's an act of preventing a new generation from really taking root, which of course is not going to work. It's not going to work. The real question is who did it, who done it, and for what reasons. And I know that there are a lot of budding theories out there, and quite a few of them have merit. But I think what adds to this for me, as I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I'm sure you have too, is that he's just, aside from being so young, just regularly seen character in the background of our lives for the last 10 years or so. Vital, active, effective. And to see him for all of us to have seen him in such catastrophic, agonizing distress is a little bit too much to bear. Maybe because it's too intimate of a moment for us to have ever been allowed to see. It was just not right. There's nothing about it that was right. I mean, could say that about anybody in that position, but it was because, of course, this was served up to all of us. This was a message to all of us, even more so than it was to eliminate a problem that some people thought was a problem. We're going to get into that tonight too, because I'm not going to be showing you all of the trash. I'm not going to be showing you the trash because there's much of it out there. But we have some stuff to analyze. Hold on, I want to see the Yankee Stadium right now. President Trump's there.
All that perished during the attacks of 9/11.
Hold on, let's see if they say something.
Innocent people in the building and buildings and the Pentagon as well. And we hope that there's solace for those people that lost loved ones. All these years later, that will stay with them forever. And 9/11 will always have that meaning.
They're playing Mobb Deep in the background.
Because it did change us, and it changed us. I don't know if it's for the better, but it definitely changed us. And you could see the teams are wearing hats with the first responders, FDNY, NYPD, Port Authority cops as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to see if they're going to show President Trump because they saw him in the clubhouse earlier on.
That these attacks happened to the innocents in this country. You guys were there on 9/11. It was not easy, and it never gets easy, David.
Let's see here. This was not too long ago. President Trump in the Yankee clubhouse is shaking hands with Aaron Judge. Here it is. Oh,
It's a little bit bigger, you know. A little bit bigger. What I think about it. So if you have that much muscle, you have to hit the ball first.
and you know President Trump's a tall guy. And he's head and shoulders above him.
Fantastic player. I appreciate that. Unbelievable player. Thank you. I appreciate that. Great to know you. Thank you.
Well, that just happened right now. What's going on? Hold on.
Colors, and then the national anthem.
Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Hope you can hear this. It's as loud as it goes.
Please direct your attention to the area behind second base. Presenting tonight's colors, the Port Authority Police Department.
Okay, so they're just doing the national anthem. They're doing the Star Spangled Banner right now. If there's anything, if President Trump throws out the first pitch, which I wonder if that's going to be the case. He landed in Westchester County Airport. I know some of you know Westchester County Airport very well after this past weekend. But, yeah, here is a little something, though, that President Trump released earlier on or late last night, around 9:15 or so. 4 minutes about Charlie Kirk. Although there's President Trump. He just, I can't show it to you because, of course, the Yes Network will come after me. All right, so I guess he's not going to be throwing anything out, but he's there at the game, and I'll be checking in on that in a little bit. Here's President Trump last night, released to the world.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close.
So I've got questions from last night that I'm going to pose to you again tonight, because it was it made for really, really great calls and everything else. There is of course, the response to this of the Atlantic, Trump's dangerous response to the Kirk assassination. Rather than condemning violence and calling for unity, the president of the United States accuses political opposition of being accessories to murder. They are. The Atlantic. Jonathan Chait, or whatever the fuck your name is. So we're going to continue with open lines and asking several related questions, including, is this the tipping point? The tipping point. We've been talking about that for a long time. Now, I don't go into Civil War territory with our talks, because I think that the imagery that everybody has in their heads is just not close to the reality of what it actually would be. But look, there is nothing more exhausting. There's nothing more exhausting than holding our position as reasonable people who allow children to have their forever tantrums. That's been our position for a long time now, allowing children to have their forever tantrums. No matter where you tune in today, the same thing is being said. It can't be allowed anymore. But what does that mean? As I asked last night, what does the response look like that meets the heart of the problem? Okay? What does the response look like that meets the heart of the problem? Because, for violent offenders, lawbreakers, yes, punishments need to be harsh. Executions need to be public. No doubt about it. But for otherwise harmless, feeble-minded shriekers that are out there, the mockery and social rejection needs to be overwhelming. That's another thing. Analyzing institutions, whether we were talking about pharma advertising last night and what that means not only to mental health in general, but also the health of the networks that churn out this hate and this bullshit and this disillusionment for decades. So little things. Let's add all the little things up to make a more complete picture about what the response really means. Because we are not like them And so we're not going to do the things that they do. There needs to be rhyme or reason, and we have to clear the house of the infestation. What do you do? Okay, let's take some calls. 530, you're on the air. You're the first call. Go ahead.
We are not like that.
Shoot. Let me pause you real quick.
Yes.
Give me a second. How you doing, Frank?
All right, who's this?
This is Ryan from Sacramento area. I'm in Northern California.
Welcome, Ryan. So what's on your mind tonight?
I think you're absolutely right. The mockery needs to happen, for sure. But I just have a question, I guess. How much of this are we supposed to put up with?
Well, I mean, I don't think that. I think that like I said, that whole the position that we seemingly have been holding forever, just allowing children to have their tantrums, and those tantrums becoming more and more violent and more righteous in their violence as well. That's over. So as far as how much more, there is no much more. The real question is, what does responsible, effective action look like? Because our action can't mimic theirs. That doesn't. In fact, if we gave them a dose of their own medicine, that would be actually helping them achieve their mission. So the real question is, I'm interested in the aspects of what an effective campaign against this would look like, and I'm not expecting one silver bullet here either. One solution to cure everything. I want to know what aspects people would bring to the table to finally put the screws to one part of society, another part of society. What is it? Is it that's what I was talking about last night. That's what we're continuing tonight.
I missed you last night.
It's all right. Well, that's the same. Essentially, that's the question.
I don't know what else there is. I mean, it's right. An ideology. It's a poisonous ideology. It stems from the pit of hell. It's communism. It's Marxism. It's demonic. It's satanic. And I don't think the answer is government stepping in, regulating speech or any more regulations. That's not it. And you said, you didn't want to go down the route of civil war. People need to stand up and if not ridicule, if that's not enough,
right? But okay,
maybe it is civil war.
Well, okay. Well, and thank you for the call. So then the next person to call in, please add on to this thought. Aside from defending your life, your family, your friends, where you stand, and being prepared to do what must be done when the war comes to you, or when you find yourself in a position where you need to act effectively to save your life and whatever. If you were going to go out and maybe it's time for civil war, who are you recruiting tomorrow, and where are you marching off to, and what's the first target? Where's base camp? Okay, so this whole again, we're thinking people who think this way, they're seeing blue and gray Mason-Dixon line, north and south, and that's just not what's going on. That's just not what's going on here. I'm not denying the urgency here, but still, that's it. Let's just build on that a little bit, everybody. 817, go ahead.
Hey Frank, this is Cloud9.
Hey Cloud9, it's good to hear from you again.
Yeah, I wish this were under better circumstances.
Yes,
but my thought isn't necessarily my thought, so I'm, just piggybacking off of what others have said, I think more eloquently than I will. When we're looking at what Charlie Kirk represents, it's not that he was conservative, but it's honestly everything from a philosophical, metaphysical standpoint that he stood for. And I'm mainly just talking about his Christian, evangelical, philosophical understanding. I think when you look at it through that lens, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that it makes things right, but I am saying that ultimately what transpires makes just more sense than what people would care to admit. I think Charlie, for all intents and purposes, is going to go down as a martyr. And one of the things that Charlie, as many others have done, has gone to college campus after college campus after college campus, and been the target of many assaults, whether physical, verbal, or elsewise. But, go back 10 years, you had Crowder, Shapiro, the whole entire Daily Wire crew, and then rising fame with Charlie going around college campuses. And it was, hard enough to get a place on campus. And now I think you're seeing this turning point in history where, after 9/11, there is now stamp on airport security with the creation of the TSA. I think what you're going to start seeing moving forward is that there's not going to be any, outside political event at a college campus. It's all going to be indoors. But I will say, moving forward, I was listening to two guys today, and I think both of them had interesting takes that were different from what you would hear most of the mainstream conservatives here talk about. One of them was Scott Adams, and I would recommend all of your viewers and listeners to go listen to Scott Adams and dissect and analyze if this is something that could potentially be politically viable in the state that we're in now. Because from the standpoint of the opposition, the political opposition, they will take an inch and make it a mile. Scott Adams makes the case, long and short of it, I recommend it's 6-minute video. You can find it on X, of making an argument for the dismantling of the Democratic Party. Because ultimately, even though they may not directly be responsible, but they are indirectly culpable for this tragedy because of the type of language and the type of fervor, the accusations that they've accrued over the years. And he argues for the complete dismantling of the Democratic Party for said reasons. And then the next person, Nick Freitas, says similar things. And I think he's a former congressman or current congressman. I don't remember.
I have his statement here. I'll get to that a little bit later.
Okay,
but just give me your concluding give me your concluding thoughts, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just to conclude, this is a spiritual war. This is not just against political busybodies, but this is a spiritual war. What we saw yesterday was demonic in the absolute truest form of the sense. This doesn't end when the assassin is caught. It doesn't. This has to be from a bottom up and not just a top down approach. But Frank, all my love to you and your family, and may God bless you.
Same to you, Cloud9. Thank you for that. All right. Well, what I would start off by saying is it would be an absolute shame. And even though I didn't hang on Charlie Kirk's every word, I would have to imagine that by what he, in the same way that Scott Pressler commits to his line of work, they were very you understood their approach and you understood their demeanor, and it would be very, I would believe, something that would be considered a failure to Charlie, just based on how he lived his life, if his death begets a new militant response, a new militant action of anybody who was once inspired by the dialectic, the dialogue, the debate angle, the goodwill debate angle of trying to stimulate people and bring about a new understanding of who we are as Americans, and to try to break that stranglehold of this Marxist ideological worldview by reasoning with people. And it wasn't about sitting down in a public square and having every person come up to you and then showing them the light. No, I mean, I had so many of you send me your favorite clips of his, and I don't know if we'll have time in the second half, but we'll definitely have time in extra innings. And the reason why you'll see why he's just so effective, or anybody who does what he does is so effective. If you have that mentality, there's a lot of people out there who do that, go out and engage with people that they know are going to be on the opposite sides of things. And because of their demeanor and because of how charming they can be at times, and sometimes you're just staring into the face of madness and there's nothing you can do. But even the people that you have polite disagreements with, the exchange is very useful for the observer. There's a lot of people who are trying to figure it out. And the only way for a person who's trying to figure it out to get the best shot at really getting an understanding is to watch all positions being defended in an open forum. That's it. Now, if you come to the forum already entrenched in your view, you want to be able to prevent that. And of course, that is what our culture has really been set up to produce from a media angle and an educational angle. It's set up to turn children into, really red diaper, doper baby, blinders on. Everything is a left-wing solution to what is a left-wing problem, but is called a right-wing problem. So I would have to imagine that if anything violent came from his death, that would be a real big letdown. What I think is that this, if anything would happen, that is only going to accelerate. I totally see this being one of those things where, as an insurance thing now, they're not giving anybody access to any amphitheaters for a while, and they're moving everything inside and whatever. So I can totally see that happening as far as campus insurance, liability, everything else, and that's for sure. But my question is, while that work, the much necessary work of engaging people intellectually has to continue, because it's the only thing that's going to leave behind a lasting mark. What is being done? What is being done by law enforcement? What's being done about the schools? What's being done about Marxist ideology itself? What can be done? Because it's not against the law for somebody to be stupid. It's not against the law for somebody to think a way about the world, a way that the world could work under like Marxism, and think that would actually be good. It's not against the law for a person to be just dumb. So you can't go that route. But I mean, when we're talking about the United States of America, its Constitution, and what constitutes being a traitor, a subversive, I mean, Marxists and communists, I mean, that's like the Willy Wonka hiring Slugworth to run the chocolate factory. Why would you do that? Now, on the same end, on a state level, the Constitution actually allows, the way that our federalist system is set up, it actually allows somebody who is a little bit more left-leaning, who's a little bit more collectivist, who's a little bit more, dare I say, socialist, to actually go and create state policy that would be illegal on a federal level. As long as that state constitution allows it, you can have successful socialized programs in each state, and you already do, as long as it's in line with your state constitution. I mean, that's actually the way where somebody who thinks that there are some redeeming qualities to socialism and to communism can actually make some stuff work on a local level, if that is exactly what everybody wants, and there's somehow enough money coming in that you could subsidize an idea like that. That our Constitution actually allows that experimentation to happen locally. Of course, that's not what we're dealing with. Nothing's local. Everything needs to be federal. So there's a big problem here. There's a big problem here. And I wonder about what balances out the work that people like Charlie Kirk did in their lives and are still doing and need to continue exactly that way, because it's effective and it's not coercive. and then also something that is a very serious operation to root out subversives and real traitor types and hold them to harsh account. That's a part of my question. Now there's more over here too, because you get to just watch people, listen to people. Here's an example. This guy Charlie Simpson tweeted, "This is what my teacher said this morning about Charlie Kirk's assassination. He wasn't a tolerant individual. At the end of the day, if you live by the sword, you might as well be killed by the sword." Twitter is absolutely filled with testimonies like this, videos like that. People just are filming themselves and saying, "This is who I am, ladies and gentlemen." Now, I wonder if this teacher approves, and she probably does, approves of abortion and the 70 million American lives that have been snuffed out in this country since 1973 because of abortion. And that is actually a legitimate knife, a sword. Okay? That is living by the sword right there. That's living by the sword. Okay? Not vocally defying communism. That's not living by the sword. How Charlie Kirk lived. Okay? That wasn't living by the sword, defying communism. But of course, this teacher, whoever the hell she is, and there's tens of thousands more like her, or him, but they're all kind of hers. They're not fully human, so they wouldn't be able to really make that connection. Then you have this, TMZ. Listen to what happened at TMZ. They're trying to deny that the hooting and hollering that you hear in the background right now is not from their production staff that just got the word that Charlie was dead. They're trying to say that what you're about to hear is that the cheers in the background was a reaction to a high-speed chase that was happening in California. This was prior to and not related to Charlie Kirk's death, even though you're going to hear the cheering, and then you're going to hear some kind of a production assistant come to the head honcho, anchor guy and confirm that President Trump had tweeted out that Charlie had died. Take a listen to this.
Janet, go.
You hear hooting and hollering like it's a comedy show? Like their favorite team just scored the winning goal in the World Cup.
To have somebody look at the Fox.
8.5 seconds later.
Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
But they were just in rap. Yeah, Charlie Kirk had been shot through the throat an hour or so before this video. But they were the only ones in the country that were just enraptured by a police chase in California. Who the hell even gives a shit? This is the kind of stuff that's on display all over the place. I wasn't going to make the whole show about this. It's endless scrolls of yappy motor mouth bitches. Endless scrolls of yappy bitches making the murder all about them and how it's going to make things dangerous for them. Take a look at this one. You'll see that I don't know. This is repeated over and over again. Icy Manga says, taking out a Charlie Kirk quote. Okay, here's the quote from Charlie Kirk that a lot of leftists are using today. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. That's a prudent deal. It is rational, end quote. Okay? And that's always accompanied by, I'm glad he's dead, or something like that. Live by the sword, die by the sword. So think about that quote, because of course they don't think. They're only a retard. Only a retard is fine with believing that someone like Charlie Kirk is actually saying when he says that death is a good thing. But again, we're dealing with severely disabled people. Now, back in 2018, I remember we were reading through a Reason.com article about defensive gun usage. We always hear about what yearly gun deaths are all about. What were they? I remember during the Obama administration when they were really trying to to make more and the biggest presses for disarmament ever. They went to the CDC and they did a gun death study. And what they found was that there's about 30,000 gun-related deaths every year, and that 2/3 of them are suicides. And that the remaining 1/3 is mostly gang-related in the inner city. Can't do anything with that, of course. That's statistic. So you're talking about self-harm, which if somebody's really committed to doing that, you take away one tool, they'll find another. You take away another tool, they'll find a cliff. Whatever the hell it is. So it wasn't really, that in itself doesn't really help out. Doesn't really help the cause. But then there's another statistic that's not very often talked about, and that is, of course, self-defense. And it was a guy named Gary Kleck. He's a criminologist. And he put together a national self-defense survey in like 1993 or 1995 or something like that. But a few years later, using his old data and some other new data, he was estimating that anywhere between, and there's far more studies that corroborate this, and there's actually a wide range, 30,000 gun deaths versus anywhere between, he was saying, 1 and 2 million defensive gun uses every year. But depending on where you're going, you're going to find numbers as low as 60,000 defensive gun uses to up to 2.5 million defensive gun uses. You say, oh, it has to be inflated somehow. Does it matter? Does it matter? Compared to what is essentially 10,000 gun deaths every year that are taking part mostly because of gang wars in this country. So what Charlie Kirk is saying, this is the basis of his entire, of anybody in his position. It's the argument of any commonly sensible person who's defending the inherent right to self-defense through lethal force. What they're saying is that humanity will never be free from sick, evil, violent people. Never. And depending on how sick your culture is, you can produce more of them. But even the most stable state, there's going to be people that need to be dealt with. And those people will have a little bit more to think about if they fear their victims. And this is really what's going on here. Are you willing to make that trade-off? That people, there's going to be unfortunate circumstances where people die because of gun mishaps and misfirings or crimes of passion or whatever the hell it is, when you think about the broad spectrum of what it means to live in this jungle of ours. No matter how we dress ourselves up, no matter how fashion has progressed, we live in the jungle over here. Now, progressives, because they are frozen in this infantile mental state, they always believe that there is a policy that could be drafted to neutralize eternal elements of human nature itself. This is where progressives just stay in stasis. And in doing so, they always wrongfully assume perfect knowledge of human behavior and all of its motivations. Everything that can motivate a human to do anything, to buy a candy bar, to buy health insurance, whatever the hell it is, to buy a gun, they have to assume perfect knowledge to be able to regulate humanity. Which is why also the free market is not a perfect place, but neither is humanity. It is the best equalizer to our nature than something that is communistic and is fixed and controlled. You can't account for everybody's motivations and everybody's needs. This is why everything that they do, this is why all their top-down economic prescriptions usually end in absolute disaster. The same goes for so-called gun control. Now, with gun control, the only people it really inhibits from owning and operating firearms are people who probably need them the most. We don't have to keep saying that over and over again. But if they really wanted to encourage people to learn how to use their weapons and its proper usage and all that other stuff, I mean, we'd probably be much better off, but that's not the case because the narrative is about fear of the tool itself. That's where all of these ninnies come from. You can't have these conversations with them. This is why the dialectics are very important. This is why the debates are very important. A ninny who can't hear you, who is pre-programmed to have a couple of different lines and then spurg out, call you a name, and run away. That you were never going to get anywhere with that broken model. It was your demeanor and what you brought to the table, and then how you summed up that exchange in your concluding thoughts afterwards once they run away, like the freaks that they are. That is where the inroads to new people is made that Charlie Kirk was so good at. So going back to the gun thing, the narrative is always about the fear of the tool itself and avoidance of the human elements that ultimately make the tool necessary. They don't want to talk about the human elements there. They don't want to talk about the people. You know, Charlie Kirk was killed by a gun, not a person. That's how they find focus. They call it ironic because they choose to personify inanimate objects in order to avoid profiling people, especially the criminally insane. They very rarely are we going to talk about the people who are squeezing the trigger on an ordinary weekend bloodbath in Chicago. We're very rarely going to talk about them. It was just guns run amok. Guns run amok. That's what it is. And of course, I'm just describing what I believe to be the mental makeup of your average pea brain, making these half-baked arguments about, you know, how ironic Charlie Kirk's reckless love of guns are because of how he ended up dying. You know, when it wasn't never about the guns, it was about free humanity. It was about how to keep humanity free as you can. And the group who stands to gain the most from this gun control stuff, which of course is where we're always going to, I mean, those are the Central Powers. And the Central Powers, they fear three things above all: guns, God, probably God most, and sound money. Those three things above all. I mean, there's plenty of other fears, but guns, God, and sound money. That keeps people independent from illegitimate authority better than anything else. So, which is ultimately the fuller message that people like Charlie Kirk bring to the masses. So, this is just what is so frustrating about watching people just with the diarrhea of the mouth constantly. Let's take a call. 472, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Frank?
Yep, go ahead. Turn it off.
How you doing, buddy? I can't believe it. This is Brian. How are you?
I'm all right, Brian. So what's your big thought for the night? Go ahead.
All right. Well, Novus Order Seclorum. Out of chaos comes order. We are witnessing the worst chaos in history. I got to tell you a couple quick things. Hold on. Let me get them out. My brothers and sisters, all of which, I'm 66, the oldest, are either old enough to be your parents or your uncles and aunts. They all love you. I turned them on to you. They love you. And we are witnessing like total disarray, and it's just the chaos. You touch upon it occasionally. It's the evil. A gentleman a couple calls back was saying, you know, this is the evil of the devil. And it is. It is. It's good versus evil. And the thing I got to say to you, I know you're going to not like this. You got a family, you got a platform, but from what I listen to, you perplex me. I've had so many things in the past 20 minutes that you touched upon that I want to say, oh, I got an answer for that. Oh, and I can't, because you move and you're moving and you're moving and you're good. You're on the top of your game. So instead of trying to remember everything that you said in the past half hour, I'm going to pose something to you. Charlie Kirk was good at what he did. And yes, we got to watch both sides. We can't go too far left or too far right. We got to stay center and we got to stay focused. But there's been a vacuum now that's been caused by this heinous action that was taking place by this violent criminal that needs to be taken care of. But there's one man in my life that I know who could relate to the young people and who can talk to college students and who can debate and who has a lot of answers. And my friend, that man is you. Now, I think you really could walk right into his job at Turning Point.
No.
I know it's not what you want. I'm just saying.
Okay, well,
this is how
is there
much
anything else?
my family looked. What?
Listen, I appreciate the vote of confidence. It is very
that's all. That's all that is.
Okay.
I know that's nothing that you're interested in.
I understand. Well, let's give me your next thing real quick, because there's a lot of people calling in. Brian, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm out of here. I just want to tell you, it's good versus evil. Keep your kids and your family focused on God, and things will work out the way they're supposed to work out. Love you, man.
I can get behind that, Brian. Thank you so much. No, again, thank you for the vote of confidence, but that is we're two different people. We do different things, and I'm tipping my cap to a lot of all the things that Charlie Kirk did very well that I am not cut out for at all. So, but I appreciate you, Brian. I really do. Just a little uncomfortable to even contemplate right now. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. Let's take another call. 229. Go ahead.
Hi.
Who's this?
This is Ellerby.
Ellerby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I was just going to comment that I think that I think that Charlie was probably targeted because one of their, just like the Hitler youth camps, they know that getting to the kids young and indoctrinating them young makes them a primary target. And he knew that, and he was effective at deprogramming, or at least opening that window for kids to consider other things. And he was far too effective. So for it to be a lone gunman or whatever, it just seems a little far-fetched. I think that was probably, a goal on the to-do list for the deep state or whatever, the globalists, the communists. But as far as, now the rhetoric and what's going to happen next, I think civil war is the wrong way to go. I think you're exactly right that we cannot turn into them, because right now they're holding the whole bag. We are not violent. Words are one thing. Words are not violent. But they have been violent. They have blood on their hands, and they have for a long time. And the threats are real. That they've tried to terrorize anybody that speaks up. But at this point, I think that it's going to have to be some kind of move from the government, but it can't be like the caller earlier was saying, it needs to, go dismantle. Scott Adams wanted to dismantle or whatever, the Democratic Party. Well, you open the door for that to be turned back around on you, which is why they ended up going after Al Capone with taxes. So there's enough fraud, there's enough, money laundering, there's enough of like crimes that are, exclusive to this criminal network. And I think they're going to have to figure out the perfect recipe of Jenga, or the game Jenga. Do you take one at the top, or do you take some at the bottom? Do you take an organization? But they're going to have to start dismantling it in a way to create, a pause in whether it's in the judicial treason. Do they go after Soros networks? Do they go after Act Blue? But it's going to have to be something, I think, from on a larger scale, because, we can't just sit around and get picked off. And they can't, corner everybody into fear and no longer going out and speaking to kids. That's what they want. And they also want a civil war. I was listening to a Tucker interview, and they were having a conversation about how gross and bad Dante said that, civil war ruined his life. And they started talking about the civil war in Spain and how it was demonic, and they're still angry about it. But And they were saying that, that was the reason they took out Nixon, because he realized that there were communists all the way up to the top in the State Department, and he was going to expose them. So they created the Watergate scandal.
Well, you're saying okay. Well, you're saying a lot. You're saying a lot there, and I get where you're going with it. And what I would start is, first of all, I can't wait to see what the big reveal with the shooter is. As of early this morning, I was asking myself, what's the likelihood that we ever learn a damn thing about this person who's like the Phantom of the Opera now? They have him, they don't have him, they think they do, they don't. I don't know how we can ever really trust what we're going to get with this latest culprit who has somehow escaped like he's fucking DB Cooper. And that we have been, whereas in the past, just last year, we've been told to fuck off on what the full deal with Butler, Pennsylvania was, with the shooter who has the Elizabeth Warren nose. It's like, what is the, I don't know what you would think that would be like and thank you for the call. I have to keep moving. You would think that would be a top priority. And we heard about an assassination, council or something like that. Where the hell is it? If I was shot at in Butler, Pennsylvania last July, it would be the first thing I would tear everything over. That is the sloped roof theory. You serious? All we got was a timid resignation at the Secret Service? Really? You want to talk about dismantling the DNC? Okay, well, let's start with a voter registration analyst, a DNC voter registration analyst from 2016 who lost his life mysteriously. Let's start there. Might be a little bit there. Oh, there's plenty out there to dismantle both parties, but I don't know. Listen, what's happening here is that this is organic stuff. What's happening on college campuses, what's going on with the demographic shifts, what's going on with the younger generations and their worldview, and they're drifting toward more traditional values and more traditionally American values. I'm not even just talking about family and religion. I'm talking about traditionally American values, constitutional consciousness. That is something that is dangerous. Okay? That's dangerous. Very dangerous. Those are people who are not going to be satisfied with status quo. And unlike the commies that are coming up, there's two sides that are unsatisfied with status quo. There are the pinkos who listen to Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all of these promise of socialistic world utopian visions and all that stuff that have always just been fed to generations as a way to go out there and get votes. But everybody knows, the leadership of Republicans and Democrats, they're going to keep everybody in proper orbit. They're not going to destroy their multi-trillion-dollar a year cash cow that they can just leech onto. They can stick their fangs into that thing and slurp up however many billions of dollars they want, with all their insider trading and everything else. They don't want that to all go away by committing to the communist ideals and utopianism that they've been selling to voters since they were in diapers. That's why there's a lot of leftist kids who are pissed off that they haven't gotten their free everything yet, and now they're willing to kill for it. But on the other side, people like Charlie Kirk are creating people who are a little bit more constitutionally minded and see the lasting value in being separated from government and its regulatory powers, which are 99% illegal if you know your Constitution. So that's the real thing here. It's the fact that there was real, long-lasting cultural value to that shift. So I wonder what we're going to get with the identity of the shooter or whatever the hell it is, and that's something. There's something else there too. I'm sure. I don't know if there's been any kind of an explanation about all of the early published articles, like KSL, USA Today, Newsweek. There's always been something off about USA Today. USA Today, it was like yesterday around midday, right around the time that the news got out that he was shot. Kirk, people started saying, what is this? Because I guess they're looking for news, and they're finding news that was supposedly posted 17 hours prior, which is impossible. Now, I don't know if that is just a population glitch, how it populates onto what, but I mean, even the speed with which it pops up is incredible. Now, it could be that it's just that AI is writing shit as quick as possible. And maybe it is just an error in how it populates in Google search and stuff. Because I'm telling you, man, USA Today, it might have been 2 or 3 years ago. I brought a couple of dozen USA Today and I forget some other kind of a thing, other kind of an outlet that I said, guys, there's something weird about this. That it was plug and play articles that all had to do, it was almost as if USA Today was automatically publishing articles about gun violence. And they were all matching. All these articles were matching, except it was swapping out towns and states. I wish I knew when it was that episode. I wish I knew. It was almost as if there was we had stumbled upon some kind of an automated operation that was just seeding these articles all over the place with just key phrases swapped out and, of course, locations swapped out in order to maintain top billing on any of the search engines whenever you want to go for something that is gun related and of course just dripping with political manipulation and all that stuff. So whenever I see USA Today caught up in some kind of an early publishing theory, I'm like, well, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it, because there's something else that I just realized that is happening a lot more now is the books on Amazon. In particular, there is the shooting of Charlie Kirk book that everybody saw published supposedly on September 9th, 2025. That was on Amazon. And everybody, there's going back and forth about why it's possible. Is it a glitch? Other people saying, how could it be possible? If it's going to be published on the 9th, it means you must have submitted it to Amazon, KDP, or anything like that, the Kindle, a couple of days prior. So that pushes the timeline back even more. But regardless, I took this screenshot off of Amazon today. I didn't know. And of course, it's obvious to me now. Look at all this stuff. Everything you see right now was published either yesterday, the day of the shooting, or today. Here are some of the titles. Charlie Kirk shooting, A Nation on Edge. Legacy of Charlie Kirk, a biography of his rise movement and his tragic death. These are all written by AI. There are people out there who are publishing AI books on things that are happening in society in any given day and making sure that when somebody goes and looks for it on Amazon, there's already a book for them to read. Who the hell knows what's inside of these dastardly listings, but that's just fucking ghoulish. It just gets worse. Insane. Let's take a call. 540, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Is this Tipping Point?
Insane.
Okay, you got to turn that off.
Okay, I did. Is
Okay.
this Tipping Point?
This is Quite Frankly.
Oh, quite frankly, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was calling. It looks like y'all have an open line where you can call in show. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Is this your first time watching?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, that explains it. Yes, welcome to the show. You're live.
Oh, I'm live. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, the reason I was calling is that I didn't know if y'all had already discussed it or not about Sky Valdez in regard to being someone of interest regarding Charlie Kirk's killing.
Oh, I don't know very much about the details, but I've had so many things sent to me today just from friends alone. I remember seeing that name thrown around, and so give me your summarizing thoughts real quick.
Well, my summarizing thoughts is that I had enough information that I felt very concerned and just spoke with the FBI in Utah about it and gave them all the detailed information that I had just based on what I had, saw basically on the internet, which I know is, not reliable sources. But at the same token, I did view the pictures of the person that the FBI put out and this person's face, and the fact that they also had put out a Spotify song, and it was on SoundCloud, and the title was "Charlie Kirk Dead at 31."
Okay,
That was
that's
several weeks prior to.
I remember something about the song title, but let me ask you something. So you live in Utah?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. So then what did you call the FBI with? Just something you saw on the internet?
Well, based on there's lots of different people stating this. And so, yes, and they were very kind and listened. And also, I told them I couldn't find out the information about the judge that lives there, Andrew Valdez. I know his wife is on the board of trustees at Utah University. And, if they had a son named Sky, because I couldn't find that out. I know he has children.
Okay.
So anyway, I was just wondering if y'all had been discussing that or knew anything about it.
No, and you're the first one to bring the name up, and I don't. It's open lines tonight, so if somebody calls in with a little bit more, in favor of its importance or diminished importance,
yes, I understand.
We'll see. And thank you for the call. It's good to have a newbie call in.
Oh, well, thank you. And I hadn't really started listening. I just saw that y'all were on, so I thought I would call. So now I'll listen.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to be on the line.
Oh, I know. Imagine that you won the lottery tonight, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, I hope I didn't embarrass myself.
No, not.
Okay, thank you.
Not at all. Nobody knows who you are. If they knew who you are, you'd be in trouble. You'd be very embarrassed. Like, oh, there's that girl. They see her at the luncheonette the next day. She's having her bacon, egg, and cheese. She's the one that called in last night. That's her. They're right over there. She puts ketchup on it. I know. You put ketchup on your bacon, egg, and cheese. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper is okay. No, that's the way people talk in luncheonettes. Okay, let's see here. Let's take another call. 253, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, this is Andrew.
Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing good. I was the one who kind of bombed you with all of those emails yesterday. Or earlier today. I apologize for that.
No, it's okay, Andrew. Oh, welcome to the show. So, I mean, you have a lot to say about this, and we got a daisy chain of callers coming in. But what would you say is the biggest message you want to get out to people?
Well, I guess I would like to. I'll try and make it as fast as possible. Based off of the time that I've spent in the military, I did 23 years, and I have some experience as a squad designated marksman. Went through an in-house sniper school at my first unit. So looking at just based off of everything that I'm seeing with this, I would definitely say that this was perpetuated by what has been, pushed over the years, and this was done by a professional. Granted, I know it's 200 yards or 200 meters. I can't remember specifically, but angle of the shot on a elevated position. The fact that the kill box for what we typically are looking for is a center, the center of the chest. So when I saw the video of what happened, that wasn't that wasn't on accident. It's not like the guy was aiming for, center mass of Charlie. He was aiming specifically for his neck. The head is 9 inches across. The neck is even narrower than that. The fact that there was some videos of somebody that was standing behind him that was, holding up what appeared to be a phone, but assets can be put in place that can give real-time accuracy data to the shooter. The fact that there were two people that were people of interest when right after it happened, that were what I believe were decoys at that specific instance. Looking at all of this putting it together, to me, the dude that was sitting up there had probably been up there on that roof a couple of times. He had done probably pulled some data like
well, Andrew, let me
wind.
Okay, so wait, we'll just so we can get to the conclusion here.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're not denying that, because we had some people saying 200 is you need a lot of good practice. Other people saying it's really not that bad. But tonight, what you're describing is a scene that would have needed a lot of preparation and planning, and more than one. So you're talking about a team effort here. Do you think that this is something that is just being? Would you naturally assume that these are individuals, civilians who are just fed up with Charlie Kirk, or is this an organization that has much bigger ulterior motives?
I'm going with the latter. While me personally, I could make that shot all day, every day. But that gets to my point of having the training to do it.
Right.
I've had the training to do it. I've spent the past 25 years of my life shooting on the regular and did it professionally. So a professional could easily make that. Just looking at modern ballistics, it is an easy shot. But for somebody to just get pissed off, go ahead and make the decision to go out and buy an AR and then think that they're going to go up there, or a bolt action weapon or something of that nature, and go up there and make that shot, a single shot with no follow-up rounds, as was stated before. To me, it looks like it was a concerted effort between, multiple individuals. I mean, there's been so much information out there and what's real, what's fake, but, from my professional opinion, it was somebody that had spent time behind a specific weapon system, and they made that shot based off of some information I think that was being fed to them, on the ground that was near Charlie. And,
okay.
And I mean, I may be wrong, but that's just what.
Well, I get you. I understand, and that's I was hoping for call. I said I want military. I want experienced hunters. Anybody who understands the gear well enough from distances and any other kind of environmental factors there. I just want to know what people thought, and I appreciate you coming in with your perspective. Thank you for the call, sir.
Absolutely, sir. You have a good one, and it was great to talk to you. First, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew. It's great to have you on. Blonde Sweetness, what the hell you think?
Well, I just wanted to say that I taught 9/11 today like I always do, and the kids came in super shook about Charlie Cook, and it was really all they wanted to talk about today, even tying it to 9/11 and how he was like the only one. Like their big points was about how he would talk to anybody, and that's how we all need to be, and how he stood up for the fact that they can't buy a home and they're inheriting all this debt. And
this was being like, this was being articulated by your class. Wow.
Yeah.
And how old are they again?
12 and 13.
Good for them.
Yeah. And they were really informed about inflation and 9/11 causing Afghanistan and how it cost $2 trillion and we're going to have to pay for it. And then they would tie it back to Charlie Kirk about how, like, at least he stood up about how, we have no future we're inheriting. So, like, even the ones that were on the left were, like, really upset today about it. So, I think it's good. It's positive to look and see that, like, our youth is not stupid. That's a lie they want us to believe, but really they do their own research and they're very informed. And I mean, just the stuff coming out of their mouth was like, wow.
Yeah. Okay, well, Blonde Sweetness, you've given me a perfect segue into a few other things that I have over here. Thank you for the call. That's wonderful insight, especially inside the classroom with young teenagers on a day like today. And thank you for calling.
Yeah, have a good one, Frank.
You too. I mean, my niece sat me down maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and she said, "Uncle Frank, I need to interview somebody who lived through 9/11 and remembers it for a paper." And it almost became like that Bryan Cranston meme from Malcolm in the Middle. If you start down this path, there's no going back. And I said, absolutely, I'll talk to you about that. Now, I didn't tell her about how jet fuel does not melt steel and cannot melt steel. I didn't talk to her about that because I didn't want her to be put on a watch list, or me. But I did tell her, we did talk about the afterwards and how things changed and why things did not necessarily get better. And I really just think I think it's great. I think it's great. There is a lot of curiosity out there. There's a lot of problems, no doubt. But don't write anybody off. You can't broad stroke. They want you to broad stroke. You can't. You just can't. Now, I want to read some super chats because I don't want to let these pile up. And I'm just going to be doing this and getting into more stuff and bringing your calls on. There's not going to be any ads tonight, or I talked to all my sponsors. I also talked to Badlands. Everybody agreed. Let's not do any. We'll just wait until next week to start up our ads and things like that for our sponsors, because I don't know, that just doesn't feel right at all. But you guys sending in the super chats, I want to get your thoughts on the record. And Witchy Poo says, "Hey everyone, I've missed you all, especially the pilled chat." Well, welcome. Stowstube sends some love. Thank you, Stowstube. ST says, "Frank, each day keeps the doctor away." Yes. Wait, Frank each day? Or are you talking to me? Or are you just saying Frank each day keeps the doctor away? Oh, there's no comma there, so I guess you're just saying a Frank a day. Let's see here. Lease Breaker says, "If I remember correctly, the astrologer you talked to predicted something catastrophic happening around 9/11. He may have even mentioned something about a tipping point. Charlie will be missed. He was a good dude." Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. There was nothing ever really disagreeable about him. It's just, I don't know. I wasn't. It wasn't more than a casual observer. But you could just tell, and you could tell he was happy with his family. That's the worst part about all this. Absolute worst part. Because he seems like a guy whose soul was intact and he was prepared. But there's no... Shotzi says, "Have a good weekend, everybody." And yeah, let's go over to, quite frankly, Rumble. And here we go. Let's see. First one up is Gray Sun Pro says, "Love you, Frank. God bless. Enjoy your weekend." We'll be in touch, I'm sure. Don't worry. But thank you so much, sir. Haywood says, "Article 4, Clause 2 of the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, clearly states the Constitution is supreme law. No state's constitution can go against it." That's not how that works, Haywood. That's not. The state cannot go. There are enumerated powers that are reserved for the federal government, that the states obviously cannot intervene or obstruct those things. And the enumerated powers are in Article 1, Section 8. And that's just what it is. But the 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights essentially gives a blank check of authority to the the states, so that they can do what they want as long as it's in accordance with their constitutions, which are pretty similar to, they all kind of have the same kinds of things in there, but either way, let's see. Let's see, what else do we have? Captain Wiggle says, this further proves how much of a spiritual war we're in. The people cheering his death are literal demons. Yes, they are. He was such a beacon of light and will be extremely missed. Thank you, Frank, for all that you do. Thank you, Captain Wiggles. And Merlin Marvel says, thank you for being a port in the storm these last 2 nights. Chipping in since you're suspending ads. That's very solid of you. All my love. Well, this doesn't feel right. And that's why better just to do open lines too and just to have people spend time together. Hello to everybody on Badlands. I love hanging out with you on Thursday nights. All the best to you. All right, real quick, Vesper says, stay with us, Frank. We need you more than ever. Where am I going? Loop-de-loop, thank you. The Sentinel says, by the way, the U.S. Army uses 5.56 millimeter NATO ammo in the M4, M16 with the 5.5. The hell just happened there? With the 5.5 bullet. Standard ammo for the 30-06 hunting rifle is 150. Full metal jacket bullet, nearly 3 times the size of the combat rifle. 30-06 is for hunting elk, cougars, mountain lion, mountain goats, buffaloes, and bears. Sentinel says, what a great opportunity to share that event with your niece. You are right that it's not gotten better. I missed that. I missed normal, and it hasn't been normal for a long time. Nathan says, build your networks. First local, then regional. Have a place to rally, have a plan, and communicate. That's the case. That's absolutely. Now, I got a couple things for you. Then we're going to go back to the open lines. It's 8:16. We're not going to do intermission. We're going right through. This was brought up before. Nick Freitas. I am told that as a state representative, this is the moment where I'm supposed to express my heartfelt condolences and then stand in solidarity with those on the other side of the aisle as we condemn political violence and stand unified as one people. But we aren't one people, are we? The truth is that we haven't been for some time now, and there's really no point in pretending anymore if there ever was. We are two very different peoples. We may occupy the same piece of geography, but that is where the similarities seem to abruptly end. I convinced myself for a long time that whenever the left called me a racist, a bigot, a sexist, a fascist, a threat to democracy, for even the most innocent of disagreements, that it was simply hyperbolic rhetoric done for effect. And it was, by the way. They admit this in their own little way. Like every time they lose an election after going so hard in the paint about Hitler is coming. Whenever they lose, they try to dial it back, calm everybody down. It's not really Hitler. It's just a little, oh yeah, we know that. So they have admitted so many times along the way that they use this. They use this for effect because there really is no arguments. They need they need melodrama in the biggest of ways because that's the only thing that they can really do to stay relevant. Now, of course, that's fine. That's fine if you're not broadcasting to a increasingly mentally ill base that we know, like we said, everybody's got their problems, but it is a statistical reality that the Democrat Party is like at the epicenter of diagnosed and undiagnosed mental illness. They have made mental illness a major tenet of their party platform. So you can't go on with this. Even though they believe it's for effect, they believe that they can also distance themselves from the inevitable that will come from that rhetoric. And now the effect is a widow and 2 orphaned children because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating them and winning. I don't think that they realize it yet, but murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as the day where we finally woke up to what this fight really is. It's not a civil dispute about fellow countrymen. It's a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. One side will win, one side will lose. Charlie tried to win that fight through argumentation, through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences, and the other side murdered him. Not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they hurled at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel that they had a voice and they were not alone. And he did it at a very institutions which had fomented such hatred toward conservatives. I don't want to stand in solidarity with the other side. I want to defeat you. I want to defeat the godless ideology that kills babies in the womb, sterilizes confused children, turns our cities into cesspools of degeneracy and lawlessness, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebration of Charlie's death. I wonder if any among them understand what has just happened, if there is a Yamamoto somewhere in their mind, in their midst, warning, what they all have done is awoken a sleeping giant. I doubt it. I think they gave up such introspection and self-awareness a long time ago. I don't know exactly what will happen next. I just know that it won't be the same as what happened in the past. And I got to say, that's not the full thing, but I want to go to this next one, which is a lot shorter. Drew Pavlo spoke very eloquently here and very simply. I will explain to you why the killing of Charlie Kirk pushes me to the right. He had the exact same views as my Trump-supporting parents, who I love. He had the exact same views as half of my extended family, just regular boomer conservatism. And thousands of leftists celebrate him being shot in the neck and bleeding out in front of his 3-year-old daughter. Okay, I don't even want to get into this. I read that his daughter was afraid of the sound and started running, looking for him because she was afraid of the sound. And the sound was of him getting shot. If they want that for Charlie Kirk, then they want that for my parents and my other loved ones. And I won't stand for it because I'm not a suicidal, spiteful mutant with hatred for my own family and my own parents, my own civilization. I love the people who raised me, and I'm loyal to them, and I won't ally myself with people who want to murder them just because they have old-fashioned values that were completely common throughout 99% of modern history, a love of faith, family, church, and nation. So always remember, too, this is another reason why you can't broad stroke. You can't broad stroke. Where the demons present themselves, they must be seized. They must be seized. And we can continue having discussions on how you think that needs to happen effectively and permanently. But there is still so much time and so many people who are looking around and going, are you serious right now? Especially, I mean, he's a father. 3-year-old daughter. The son is 1 year old. And even though this is not I wouldn't call this, nothing about this is a silver lining, but as horrible as that, he spared, the son is spared at least some initial grief. Because he's not going, he won't remember this. Of course, he'll have to be taught about his father as he grows up. And thankfully, there is so much on record for both of those kids to know who their father was, but it's not the same, of course. And if you're a parent, forget about it. This is horrible to even think about, to try to empathize. I think about Aurora. You know, she turns 5 on Sunday. If I died tomorrow, God forbid, if I died tomorrow, you know, I think about all the people what do I really remember about a person that I have not seen since I was 5 years old? Flashes of memories? Like, that's what's at stake for all of us. I'm not even talking about this extreme example of one man's terrible end. If you're a parent, you think about this all the time. God, the finish line for me is I want them to remember me and to know me. All right, 909, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I got through. Hi,
Yeah.
Frank.
Hey, good to have you on.
This is Morgan. So I was just calling about just a couple of things. My mom passed away when I was 9, and I don't have a ton of memories of her, kind of just things through pictures and stuff. So, you know, there's that. So that's unfortunate for both of those children.
Yeah.
But I think, though, just to wrap up what happened with Charlie Kirk, I mean, it's very obvious he was the one that was giving these people a voice, these people he opposed or that opposed him, like, hey, if you disagree with me, come to the front. I want to hear what you have to say. And they shot him. Like, these people cannot be reasoned with. I'm very glad that Trump and everybody is referring to them as terrorists, because I think it's very obvious that they are terrorists. And then my last note, hopefully this is, it's just hope. I'm hoping this AI Atlas, whatever thing that's floating through our skies that will be coming close to Earth, I hope it brings angelic and wonderful beings that just evaporate all the demons. That's my hope for the
That would be
future.
great. Maybe it's Ezekiel.
Wouldn't it?
Maybe it's Ezekiel. It could be Ezekiel
Maybe
coming.
that's why they're freaking out.
It could be.
That's what I'm hoping.
You know, how is it that in all this talk about this Atlas thing that arrives in October or whatever the hell else it was, we never speculated it might be a heavenly host?
Yeah, they might be angelic and benign creatures or entities that are here to help freaking fight this spiritual battle, to evaporate these demons. I'm just praying to God that's what this is.
That would be great. You know what? Thank
Wouldn't
you.
it?
Thank you.
I'm hanging on to it.
No, you planted a nice little seed there. Thank you. Well, hey, you know what? We're going to find out pretty soon. It's we're almost halfway through September already. But thanks for the call, my friend.
Maybe Charlie's up there directing them at this point. Hopefully,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Now we'll see. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right. A heavenly host. Imagine that. .423, you're on the air. Go ahead, 423.
Oh, hey, Frank. I can't believe I made it through.
Hi, who's this?
Rabbit.
Rabbit, welcome.
Well, thank you. I hate to have called so many times and it almost teared up watching you tear up there. But it's really crazy when you think about everything that's happening. And did you see the part where Charlie was specifically asked about the trans gun violence right before he died?
Okay.
I mean, right before impact. Isn't that weird?
Okay, so that's really what it was. That somebody mentioned that last night, and I had not really been listening to what was being spoken about. That was the last thing.
Yeah. And I wonder, okay, you saw that guy cheering after the shot and it looked like in the same spot where Charlie was looking at. I mean, is it possible that he's the guy that asked and it was a setup or?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I've seen a couple of people say that there's been a couple of people who have been highlighted in the crowd as being potential spotters or something like that. I'm just watching. I'm watching it all, and I wonder just how big the operation that is going to be exposed really is. I hope we get a true accounting of everything. I hope it's not all horse shit. But I think we can smell something that's incomplete. If we get fed an incomplete story, I think we're going to know about it real easy.
Well, I think we could change a lot of this if we remove anything communist related from the colleges. Because why is it that we focus on communism and Marxism instead of Greek philosophers? Why do we focus on these things? Why are we not focusing on? It's all about what they put before us. And then we have the psychologists. They're all they're letting these people live out these dark fantasies in there. Nobody's telling them that they probably shouldn't think that way. They're asking them why they think that way and what they think they could do about it. I mean, it's almost encouraging somebody to go out and be freaking crazy.
This is another reason. Maybe I just have to go and find myself a couple of really specialized guests in this that know the college system well And what is a practical way of making things a little bit better in that kind of like a ideological balance? And thank you for the call. How do you do that? Again, how do you do that? It's not illegal for somebody to be a dummy. I guess you can remove all fund. I mean, the federal government should not be giving any college any funding for any reason. So I guess we can start tinkering with things like that. But what's the real incentive to force a college to bring in a more balanced academic staff? How do you do that? How do you do that? Because it's an issue. It really is. How do you stop it all from happening? It's just so nuts. And again, they target, I was talking about this before here too. See people commenting about where else are you going and how are you going to fight back and how are you going to be like, can you do anything like that? No, you don't. They target us in ways that we would never do because we are of higher moral fiber. It's just the way it is. There should be no mercy shown when you're being violently engaged. That's number one. If you're being engaged violently, there should be no mercy whatsoever. But if that fight doesn't come to your doorstep, what needs to happen for things to change? Teaching children bad ideas it's nonviolent. You could say it leads to violence because, of course, you're giving them ideals that can't be obtained through any kind of democratic means. It has to be through coercion, through terrorism. Even if you're not the one that is going to plant the pipe bomb somewhere, you're the one that's going to sit and you're most likely going to sit back at home and say, well, Charlie Kirk lived by the sword and he died by the sword, because you're more the armchair murderer. The armchair murderer type. Yesterday I asked, what does enough is enough look like? Because whereas action is necessary, we are not like them. We're not the same. We have arguments. They have Hitler comparisons. We have history. They have the 1619 Project. We have elections. They have ballot stuffing and random stabbings on trains. We are not the same. And whereas we're prepared to defend ourselves more so than most people, we're not hunter-killers. We're not hunter-killers on heavy doses of Zoloft. That's just not us, because it doesn't get anywhere. And most people, the reason why it's been so hard to engage the right is because the so-called right, people who think more conservatively, who want to be less entangled with the government, less entangled with government initiatives, and less entangled with the masses, that's just really what they want. Distance. They want distance. They want isolation, a little bit more isolation and a little bit more peace. That's the whole thing. That's why, okay, as long as you stay over there, leave me alone. But that bite by bite, those little bite-sized changes and acquiescing, bite-size acquiescence is what leads us to where we are right now, where we're losing property, where your taxes are the checks that we write to the IRS are obscene. Bite-size acquiescence. And it's both parties, because both parties are left-wing parties. That's why anybody who says, I'm in the middle, they are the shit in the shit sandwich. I don't know. So what is it? What does enough is enough look like? That's the big question. Your calls are still coming in. It's 914-200-0269, and I'm going to be taking those in just a second. Let me get a couple more of these super chats out of the way. Tammy Volt says, Frank, thanks for being the voice of reason and comfort in these awful times. You're very much appreciated. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for showing up, because we're working off each other right now. Jay Britt says, great discussion tonight, Frank. Let me be the first to wish Aurora a very happy 5th birthday. Get the nugget some cookie dough ice cream. How did you know? She likes cookie dough ice cream, but she also likes mint chip. Mint chip. And sometimes she has Oreo Bomb, and sometimes she has Cookie Monster. And sometimes she has strawberry, like Daddy. Sometimes I have toasted almond. And we call it all dog poop, by the way. Like if I go get an acai bowl after I work out or something, about a year ago, maybe about a year and a half ago or so, whenever I would go out to work out on a Saturday morning, Aurora would say, "Are you going to get an acai bowl?" And I say, I don't know, maybe. Knowing that if I sweat enough, I was going to go get one. So I grab one and I bring it back in a brown bag. She said, and she started fighting me for it. She's like, "What is that? Is that a bowl?" I said, "No, it's dog poop." And ever since then, she asked me if I'm going to get dog poop. And when I split the acai bowl with her, and she's eating her berries and all that stuff, and we're just eating it together, the entire time that we eat the bowl, it's nonstop talk about, this poop is really good. How's your poop taste? What's on top of your poop? That's great. Life-affirming talk. I love it. Anyway, what else do we have here? Oh, look, the Yankees are winning. Thank you, President Trump, for showing up to the Bronx tonight. Thank you. It is 9-1 in the bottom of the fourth inning. Thank you, President Trump. Can you stay? Can you set up shop in the executive box over there for the next 6 weeks? That would be great. What a disaster. Well, I mean, this is great, but I think we need more of this. All right, let's see here. Gina Harris says, Frank, Kyle Seraphin believes it's not a professional shooter. He also thinks that the shot was to the chest, ricocheted to the neck. Gina from South Carolina. I saw somebody else say that as well. I saw somebody else, I think somebody close to TPUSA, I forgot, I should have grabbed it when I saw it, said that it was a ricochet, that it came up. And I'll tell you, the first bit of footage that I saw of the shooting itself, it was that far away angle, far on up, where you could just see, and it looked from up there, you couldn't see any details. Thank God we were spared just for a moment. It looked like he had taken a shot to the chest. It looked like everything got blown back and like it was a chest impact. I don't know. We'll see. But that's what I've been seeing ricocheted. And I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, professional, not. I wouldn't be surprised either way. And let me also just put on the record that since last night, people wondering if this could be any kind of foreign involvement, especially with Israel, and me saying, well, I had, and again, because I'm just a casual viewer, I don't really, I didn't follow Charlie Kirk or really anybody's media appearances around anymore. I'm always working on this show, and whatever I see are in little dribs and drabs on Twitter or something else. But I said, I just don't, why would that be the purpose? Because he's just been always so steadfast in his support of the state of Israel. Well, I mean, there's some recent contradictions that show that he had a little bit more independence on the on the matter, independent thought on the matter, at least of late. Nothing too crazy, but some people's speculation has a little bit more teeth. Though I don't know why taking him out for just reasonable questioning of events, even of the October parachute attack or whatever the hell it was, things like that. There's a little bit more on the record than I thought. So I'm gonna put a little bit of a feather in your cap on that one. Let's see. Rev says Bongino and Patel have arrived in Utah. Presser is inbound. Hey, if you can give me it's 8:38. If it happens, link me in the Discord and tag me in the Discord. We can watch it together if it starts before the show ends at 9. And perhaps we can watch it into extra innings. Just for the hell of it. It's a one-topic show, obviously, tonight. And let's see here. Jay Britz, thank you. Thank you again so much. Joe Martinez, tip of the cap to you. And that's all I got there. Let's see. Captain Wiggle says mint chip for Aurora. Great choice. Yeah. It is a good choice, is it not? Okay, let's see. And I'll get to Pilled in just a little bit. 971, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. My name's Aaron. In the military, we did basic rifle qualification, and the test goes out to 300 meters.
Oh, okay.
And then also I wanted to say that I believe it was Antifa, which is funded by George Soros, as a reminder.
That's who you believe is at the epicenter of this, the planning, the execution?
Yes, sir. I believe that he's been doing this for a long time. It's a spiritual warfare of good versus evil for the people, for people's souls, pretty much. But he's funding it, and he's publicly stated that that's what his whole goal is. So it's simply to cause instability, socialists.
I'll tell you one thing, man. There's one thing about this whole mess that makes me question how amateur it is, and I'm fine with whatever we get. I'm not the type that stakes my my career on a theory, but I'm just telling you where what I need to know a little bit more right now is about escape routes and about the entire perimeter around that area. And
I did hear that there was a plane that took off that turned off its transponder, but I have no doubt. I just want to get off the line. Thanks for what you're doing, brother.
Well, listen, you're doing fine. Thank you for the call. Call in again, please.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, take care. Don't want to give you what the hell is it? Here it is. I saw this before. Now the original post had been deleted, but Cillian on Twitter says a private jet left Provo Airport, which is a 12-minute drive from Utah Valley University, an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot. 30 minutes into the flight, the plane illegally dropped off its ADS-B, which shows its location, altitude, and speed for air traffic control, and reappeared 45 minutes later heading back to Provo. People were wondering when this came out, is this plane connected to the shooter? Now, I don't know. Since then, there have been people saying it was, I don't know what debunking was done, but this was just something that, I don't know. I haven't seen anything big on that too since. But again, yeah, I did see that. It's just the whole disappearance thing is just nuts. In Butler, they produced a dead body on top of the roof, which is another reason why, honestly, that could be a reason why it was professional. They provided somebody. They gave you a body quickly, and that was it. They gave you a body, and they gave you a whole bunch of stupid excuses as to why the Secret Service could not cover the only roof within 200 yards that had a clear shot of the stage. Okay? I don't know, maybe a disappearing act is also the sign of somebody who has a lot of great resources behind them. It could very well be. 859, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Mike. I just want to call in and just let you guys know, in regards to Charlie Kirk dying, it's horrible. Seeing Frank get choked up, talking about his children looking for him, that's a blessing. That's awesome to see that somebody still has a good soul. But I just want to make the point. I believe it was during the Obama presidency in the Defense Act bill, they made propaganda legal or okay to use in the United States. With that, there's so much shit pushed out there that we don't know what it's doing to people mentally, their choices they make. But I don't see either side wanting to get rid of that because both parties use propaganda to influence the people they want to vote for them. So I just want to throw that out there, just my thoughts on that. It'd be nice if we could get rid of all the bullshit and just be able to talk straight because obviously something is influencing people to act in the way they are. So I just want to call and give you my thoughts and thanks for what you're doing.
I appreciate that. And that's pretty much, somebody called it about Smith Modernization Act last night. And I'll just say for the people who didn't watch last night, what comes up for me again and again is, I mean, when we have covered on this show Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird starts in the 1950s. They say they put it to bed by the 1970s, which is horseshit. Mockingbird is the reason why we have the term conspiracy theorist. And it's real, greatest implementation was in creating so much misinformation about the JFK assassination. It gave birth to the alternative media. It invested in alternative theories that kind of muddied the entire media arena. And that's all in the 50s and throughout the 70s. In the 60s, we've done many shows on the development of psychological warfare, which was rolled out during Vietnam, especially in the jungles out there. Psychological warfare was very, very big and was being implemented for the first time in big ways during the 1960s, along with all of our new weather technology and all that stuff. And then the same people who were part of the Psy-War programs, like Michael Aquino, was years later perfecting psychological warfare, Psy-War, with Mind War. And Mind War, of course, was how do we use the media? Of course, in other countries, though, never here, never against our own. How do we use the media to be able to convince a target population not to lay down their arms, but to never ever have an inclination to fight at all, like to defeat a person before they even defeat a nation, to take the fighting spirit out of a nation through mind war techniques and essentially, disarming propaganda that could be fed through media. And all the assurances it would not be rolled out here or tested here or anything like that, only against everybody out, all the enemies that we have, the many enemies that we have all over the world, enemies everywhere. So that's all of that is prior to 2012's NDAA of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act going into effect in 2013. All of that and everything else in between. MK Ultra, all of that is prior to 2012. So like I said last night, I understand it's a noble thing. It's on the books. It's one of those things that maybe it's symbolic in its way where it is now. But then you get down into the weeds of what is propaganda, what is truth, and what is being used for deliberately manipulative means. Then you have to litigate each of those things, and then you get into it. So it's like maybe sometimes they just make things official, but it's not like they were restrained prior to 2012 and those alterations made to the NDAA. So I'm right on board with you. And there's something to be said about maybe the government itself. Again, you want to talk about a return to original intent and what is the original size of the federal government? What is the original function of the military? The Department of War. When is it active? Are we supposed to have a standing army? Are we supposed to have ongoing military intelligence? And if so, to what degree? And are we, the entire intelligence apparatus, how many departments are there? 18, 19, 20? I mean, you think about all of those agencies alone. What's going on there? You say, the other countries are going to try to screw with us. Well, nobody screws with us more than we do. So it's more so none of these entities are going to be restrained by legislation. So the real question is, how do you get rid of the entities? Anyhow, okay, let's keep going. You know what? Hold on. I don't think oh, yes, I did. That Drew Pavlo guy. I think that's the real thing there. Again, like I said, pushing people toward things that are a little bit more relatable. You know, all the people in your life that you don't necessarily agree with. You got your uncle or your aunt who has voted for everybody that you hate, but they're coming to Thanksgiving. You still love them. And when you're not talking about politics, they're still a hoot. And you like talking to them. And you like, eating your tarals and dunking them in your coffee on, Christmas morning, whatever it is. And you just try to keep things nice. There's less and less of that. And we got to get back. We got to remind ourselves of that. 732, go ahead.
And when you're not talking about...
Hello?
Hello,
Who's this?
this is Cisco. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Cisco. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Frank, and thanks for all you do. Love to you and your entire family. Hug everybody you love tonight, folks. So, emotional roller coaster, totally understand, but I'll tell you, when I saw JD and the military carrying that coffin off of Air Force 2 today, just here recently, it hit me. Charlie wanted to be remembered for his faith, and he wanted to be remembered for his courage. And when I got up, I just realized, man, I'm just going to strive to be a better me. I've really, shorthanded a lot of this life. And, we can say we're doing it for Charlie, but I believe Charlie would say we're doing it for the divine. So just going to go forth in this and just try to be a better person and keep speaking up. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but we need to make insane asylums great again. And I think we're on that path. And don't let this get you down. Let it lift you up, because that's what Charlie would want. And that's just what I have to say. Thanks for doing this, Frank.
Well, thank you for calling in, Cisco, and I appreciate it. And hey, I'll go back to a very real personal accomplishment. We started off this week talking about the Quite Frankly Jamboree. We started off on Monday night. We started off the week going through the pictures and the video and the thoughts and the feelings and the good feelings of, on Friday night in this studio, 80, combination of 80 or plus audience members, friends, family, and then in the venue down the street at the theater, one day, the big theater, 130 some odd people from all over the country, even outside of the country. And again, friends, family, plenty of people who did not vote the same way. But politics, humanity came above politics. Everybody blessing each other. Nobody on the phone. Only to exchange numbers and to take pictures with each other. It's things like this that's supposed to take the wind out of your sails. And, over the last 36 hours, it's been a little bit like, damn, I want to go back to what I was feeling on Monday. And that's the whole point. Now, it's hard to just shake off when you see horror play out before you. And some of us if the closer you are to the horror, it's very hard to shake it off if you're the one losing family, if you're the one who lost somebody, or if you yourself was hurt or something like that. But just remember that the message, like President Trump said in his address yesterday, that's an attack on far more people than just the voice of a solitary man. That's an attack on all the people who dared to listen and interact and consider what that man was saying. And of course, what was that man saying? And why were those thoughts so dangerous? Well, it's very, very much in line with what we were all doing. Those of you who came out to New York, what you were all doing with me here and each other and hanging out and just really enjoying each other. And man, today, nothing felt safer and more I don't know, charging. It just felt electrifying. And you can't just let things roll off roll off down your back over here and just say, I'm ignoring all the bad things in the world. You have to be able to process them, and you have to be able to, like I said, process them. And you also have to keep them in balance with all the other good things, because anything that has bad intentions like this attached to it is there to take the wind out of your sails. You got to keep the wind in your sails. God is a great way of doing that, keeping the wind in your sails. And that's a big reason why this past weekend was so incredible. I think that there was that God was in that room, no doubt, very strongly. 440, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, this is Cobalt Cat.
Hey, Cobalt. It's good to hear from you.
Hey. Yeah, and I just want to say once again, thanks for doing this show and putting this on and having these call-in nights. And my two thoughts real quick on this whole situation is just like what Cloud9 and so many other callers have been saying, it's definitely got to start from the bottom up, because the government's not going to be there to help us. The police, although I'm very thankful for how they can protect at times, they're not going to be the ones. And also just kind of another thought, I see posts on Facebook all day long. People are, what I'm about to say right now, you might as well just unfriend me because, just like what, die by the, live by the sword, die by the sword. And I'm just like, then if you don't agree with me, then, defriend me. I personally myself, just like what you just now said in terms of this past weekend and how great and awesome and wonderful it was, I've got a few very good friends who don't believe the same politically as I do, and we are like very, very good friends. And we put all that junk aside, and at the end of the day, it's all about hanging out with another human being. Calling, hey, let's go do coffee, let's go hang out, let's go to a concert in the park. So it's just, I'm thankful. It doesn't always have to be political. And that's the thing, like my one friend and I, we always talk about this with each other. When certain things like this arise, we just say, you know what, we might not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we're very good friends.
Yeah.
And that's all there is. That's all I have. And thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you, Cobalt, and thank you for those for those words. And I'm glad to have ended the show with you tonight. And I'll talk to you next week.
All righty. Okay.
All right. See you later. There you go. There's Cobalt Cat. Got to hang out with her a few days ago. All right. So listen, next week, I'm going to see what's going to go on Monday. Monday the 15th. Thinking about a couple of really interesting, what with her a few days ago. What the hell's that? All right, so listen, next, shut the hell up. That's what you guys listen to every night? You like that? Ugh, the hell have you wasting your time? Anyway, I've got some great guests coming on next week. Now, Monday the 15th, I forget what the hell it is, but I will say this. Ladies and gentlemen, on Monday at 9 o'clock, the after hours on this show is going to be a public film club session. Okay? Now, we read The Body, which is the source material for Stand By Me, the movie. And on Monday night at the 15th at 9 o'clock, as soon as the end credits roll, we are going to do film club for The Body. And it is going to be public. So if you have any time over this weekend, watch Stand By Me and just analyze the characters and just take the whole damn thing in, and let's talk about central themes and character arcs and everything else on Monday night at 9 o'clock. That'll be an open film club. If you want to join the culture clubs, of course, that's that comes through monthly sponsorship of the show. But every once in a while, I like doing these public. So I just wanted to let you know right now, in case you can write that to your weekend itinerary. Watch Stand By Me, and then hang out with us at 9 o'clock. What else is there? Is there anything else? Okay, Jay of the Decline says, to your point here, social media was a mistake. Local interactions is what human understands. Echo chambers on the internet are engineered to divide. Yes, but you know what? It's miraculous still, Jay. Social media, I've often said about social media, we were not designed for this kind of exposure. We were not designed for emptying thoughts compulsively into public spaces for recognition. Usually thoughts would be our own. We can work through them, learn something from them. Or if they're stupid, at least they're just, we're not embarrassing ourselves by putting them out there. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about social media, but it also gave us an ability to get together like this. And again, just to talk about the Jamboree for a second, that was the digital world become physical. It was an alchemical experience. It was real. And that's what we need to go forward with the mindset in using social media responsibly, using discernment, and also just prioritizing the real life. That's why we do things like book clubs and film clubs as well, getting back into the swing of things culturally. Ronan Dosho says, Kyle said that the bullet entered the chest and exited the neck. The body plates he was wearing were not designed to protect from bigger calibers like 30-06. Jay the Decline said again, says the ricochet meme is easily disproven. So I guess they're talking to each other. Anyway, we're going to be hanging out on Extra Innings now. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Badlands. It's been great hanging out with all of you. We have wonderful audiences all over the place. And we're starting a whole new week on Monday. I'll probably be doing a Friday morning, tomorrow morning, a coffee stream from the kitchen. Won't be too long. Just see how everybody is. Check in because we didn't do that on Monday. I just needed to rest, so I'm doing that tomorrow. And then I can't wait for a full week next week. Next week we got Jerry Marzinski coming back. We've got a psychedelic DJ. Matt Xavier is coming on. He's a psychedelic DJ. We're going to be talking about that stuff. But we should have a little bit of wiggle room on Monday to do some weekend reviews and see what's going on. And then we're going to go right into a really wonderful schedule of guests. So I hope to see a lot of you there. I really do. And thank you for your support. And that'll be it for tonight. Take care of yourselves. And all the best. Now, did I do the same mistake? Let me see. Yep, I would have made the same mistake. It always happens that way. Yes, indeed. Not tonight, though. There we go. See you Monday.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters. Thank you, everybody, just across the board. QuiteFranklySuperChat.com, YouTube, Rumble, Pilled, and now Extra Innings begins. I'm going to be dropping the Pilled link in the description right now. Come and join us until the lights go out in a couple minutes from now, and I'm also going to, you can go jump, crawl, scratch over to quitefrankly.tv if you want to watch it there too. It's embedded right in the middle. But check out the chat rooms. The build will arrive shortly.
Goodbye.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.